When we're configuring an instructor-led training course, the first thing that we're going to want to do is configure the physical location where that course is going to be held. ILT courses are typically hosted in a physical location as opposed to a webinar course, which is hosted via a webinar tool remotely. All right, so the first thing that we'll want to do is go up to our admin menu icon, this little gear icon in the top right, and we'll see that we have this classroom app right in the middle of the screen here. So what we're actually going to do is select locations, and this is the area in which we're going to create and manage the locations for our ILT courses. We'll notice that there are two locations that have already been created. They have a name, an address, the country that they're located in, and they also have a series of classrooms associated with each location. We may want to associate a set of classrooms with a location if there are multiple classrooms in that location. For example, a conference hall might have many different rooms where we may be hosting our ILT events. So we may want to create a classroom for the relevant locations, or at least each of the locations where we are hosting our ILT. So we'll see how to do that in just a moment. We also have the option to view this location on a Google map. An embedded Google map, so we'll be able to pull that in that location. We'll enter a name for that location. So in this case, we'll use a test name. We'll specify an address for that location. Now, this is important to generate the map preview of that location. So here I'm just using an old address of mine. And we'll notice that there are two fields that are mandatory during this creation process. We see that location name is designated as mandatory, as well as the country in which this location is located. So for this, let's go and search United States. Of course, we can search through the drop-down simply by typing the beginning letters of our country. We can also choose to provide a telephone number for that location and an email. Now, we'll notice that the map review has generated a map based on the address that we provided, and there's my old neighborhood. The next thing that we can do is provide some details for this location. So we can enter in some information regarding directions to this session so that our learners can know how to get there. We can suggest some accommodations if this is hosted in a location far away from the user's residence or whatever the case may be. In addition, we can provide some additional information, so anything that we may deem appropriate in relation to this location. Finally, we can go to the Location Photos tab, and here we can upload photos related to this location. This way, our learners can confirm that they are in the correct location by maybe looking at an image of the outside of the building or whatever you think is appropriate. Once we've done this, we're going to go ahead and confirm our location. We'll notice that it's been added to the list, and we'll notice that we're prompted to add classrooms to this location. Indeed, we won't be able to schedule an ILT session for this particular location unless we have a classroom available. So let's go ahead and add a classroom. Another fairly straightforward process here. What we'll do is we'll go to our new classroom button, and we'll add a classroom name. This could be something like Room 102. For example, we can add some details about that classroom. For example, this may be the last room on the left side, so we may specify this information here or not. The other mandatory field besides our classroom name is the available seats in this classroom. Now, in a physical location, typically we're limited by the available space. In addition, we may be limited by the number of learners that a single instructor or even multiple instructors can handle at any one time. So we'll definitely want to specify the number of available seats in this classroom. We don't want to have 500 people show up to a classroom that can only fit 20. So I want to go ahead and specify this here, and we'll assume this is a lecture hall style location, and so we'll specify that there are 300 available seats. In addition to this seat designation, we can also specify the equipment that is available for this particular classroom. So for example, if we are hosting this in some sort of computer lab, we may want to specify that computers are available and that our learners will not need to bring their own laptops or something of that nature. We can specify other equipment as well, such as, paper available, pens available, if we're hosting a live test or something of that nature. All right, once we're done entering in these details, we'll go ahead and select confirm, and that's as simple as it is. Another option we have is to import classrooms via a CSV file. So in this way, we could import classrooms in mass. We won't go through that process right now, but just know that it is available, and all we'll have to do is specify the same fields that we specified in the new classroom creation process. So for example, if we are setting up an option from the locations area. So if we wanted to import locations in mass, we can certainly do so by specifying the fields that we went over during the new location creation process. All right. Once we've created our locations, we're going to go ahead and actually create an ILT classroom course. Again, this is a fairly straightforward process. We'll go to the admin menu, we'll access the courses page. And on this courses page, we can choose from among a ILT course that was previously configured. For example, we see here project management certification is an ILT course. This is designated by the easel or projection type screen, whatever you'd like to refer to it as, whereas the webinar courses are designated by a webcam and the e-learning courses by the desktop and tablet icon. We can also tell the difference between e-learning and webinar and ILT by the columns here. We see that for webinars and ILTs, we're actually going to perform some session management, whereas for e-learning, other options are available. All right, so to create a new course, we'll go to this new course button at the top of the screen. As well, I can go to edit this course's advanced settings, so I can go directly to those advanced settings, or I can simply go back to the list. So let's go back to the list, and we'll see that our course has been created successfully. We have our thumbnail here, our course type designated by um, the easel or the projection screen, whatever you'd like to call it. Then what we can do is click this session management option. So let's go ahead and do that. And this will actually bring us into the course shell, if you will. So we're actually in the course at this time. And here we have options to add sessions to this ILT course. So what we're going to actually do is add a series of sessions that are available to the learner to enroll into. So for a given course, we may have multiple sessions. And in fact, each of these sessions can span multiple days. So there can be provide a name for this session. For example, this will be example session 1. All right. Then we will specify the maximum enrollments for this session. Now we see this warning beneath. Don't forget to double check the classroom capacity if there is a maximum enrollment. And that's because we don't want our maximum enrollment value to exceed the number of seats that are available in the classroom. We can download this as a PDF. We can also configure to know how to do is how to both print the attendance sheet and manually evaluate users. So if we go to this session menu item, we'll see that there's an option to print an attendance sheet. This attendance sheet allows users to sign in to the session. So we'll actually physically print this sheet out and we'll have users sign in. In addition to these features is pending admin to unenroll from sessions themselves. Let's say the user chooses to back out of that session or otherwise cannot attend that session. They can unenroll from the session and the user on the wait list will take their place on the enrollment list. Now, for the course level waitlist, this course level waitlist comes into play when the enrollment for this particular ILT course is set to pending admin approval. So this is in the case where we are allowing the user to enroll to the course. However, their ultimate enrollment in the course is pending admin approval. Again, so if a user is placed on this waitlist, that is, they enrolled to this course through their course catalog, but the course is pending admin approval, the admin or a power user can come into this area and select this waitlist. Let's choose it now. They'll be brought to this page that lists the waitlisted users. From here, we can go ahead and approve or reject their enrollment to the course. All right, so that's the difference between these two waitlists. One is for the maximum enrollment value, the other is for the enrollment policy to the course. All right, in addition to these features of an ILT course, we can of course add course widgets. So this is similar in functionality to our e-learning course, where if we want to add additional information, we can do so through the addition of course widgets. And of course, we have all of our options available to go ahead and add those widgets. There's some great knowledge-based documentation on those widgets as well. All right, and the last thing we want to know how to do is how to both print the attendance sheet and manually evaluate users. So if we go to the session menu item, we'll see that there's an option to print an attendance sheet. This attendance sheet allows users to sign in to the session. So we'll actually physically print this sheet out, and we'll have users sign in to confirm that they attended the session. This way our instructor can keep track of attendance at the session. Now, if we had enrollments in this particular session, we would see that there is a row added for each enrollment, and it will list the user's username. They can sign in next to that username, and that way we can confirm their attendance. All right, so we can go ahead and generate this attendance sheet for all of the sessions that we have specified. So for each of the 2 that we have specified, we can download this as a PDF. We can also configure the sheet to manipulate the columns included. So we can enable custom settings and change the columns by these drop-down options if we want to include some different columns. All right, then to actually mark the user as having attended and evaluate this user, we'll go to Evaluation and Attendance. We can perform this action as an instructor, a power user with the appropriate permissions, or a super admin. And here what we'll see is a listing of users who are enrolled to this particular session. Now we can mark them as present. Actually, I'll show you what this looks like so we can get a better idea rather than looking at blank columns. So perform an enrollment very quickly, and we'll enroll our staff user. We'll enroll them as the level of a learner. All right, they're added to that enrollment. So let's go back to our sessions. We'll see that this user is enrolled. I can access the evaluation and attendance sheet. We'll see that this attendance sheet now lists our user. Now for each of the 2 sessions, we can mark this user as having attended or as not having attended by simply unclicking